The Galactic Academy was known as the safest place in the stars. It floated in neutral space, far from any war zone. It trained future officers for more than 300 species. Inside its walls, weapons were locked away. Violence was forbidden. Security systems watched every corridor, every room, every breath. Nothing deadly was supposed to happen there. Humans were allowed only under strict rules. They were labeled Deathworlders, creatures born on a planet too harsh for most life, stronger, faster, more dangerous under stress. Because of that, human cadets were always observed more closely than others. Cadet Lena Ward was one of those humans. She did not look dangerous. She was small, even fragile compared to many alien species. She spoke softly. She followed every rule. She trained hard, kept her head down, and avoided attention. She never raised her voice, never threatened anyone, never fought back, even when others mocked her. But everyone still watched her, because humans did not need claws or venom to be feared. One night cycle, Lena did not return to her dorm. At first, nobody panicked. The Academy assumed it was a simple system error, a delayed badge scan, a navigation mistake in the station's long corridors. Minutes turned into an hour. Then the record showed she had missed curfew. That raised mild concern. A notice was filed. A minor disciplinary flag was prepared. Someone even joked that the human cadet was probably lost. More time passed. 2 hours. 3. Her dorm room remained empty. Her communicator did not respond. Security finally took the matter seriously. They traced her last location. It led them to a sealed training chamber, one that should have been empty and locked. That alone was strange. When the door opened, the room was silent. Too silent. They found Lena inside. Her eyes were open. Her body was still. No signs of struggle were reported. No alarms had triggered. No weapons were found. The security drones hovered, confused. There was no clear cause of death. A human cadet, dead in a place where death was not supposed to exist. The Academy sealed the chamber immediately. Reports were classified. Access was restricted. Official statements were delayed. Then came silence. No announcement, no explanation, no answers. The station continued its routines as if nothing had happened. Classes resumed. Alien cadets trained. Instructors avoided questions. But one person did not move on. On the other side of the station, another human cadet stood alone in a dim corridor. She read the report again and again. Each word felt heavy. Each missing detail felt loud. Lena Ward was not just a name to her. She was her only friend. And as the station lights hummed calmly overhead, the human cadet understood something the Academy did not yet realize. This death would not stay silent. Not for long.
The Academy Council moved quickly. Too quickly. Within a single cycle, they released an official statement. Cadet Lena Ward had died in an accident during unsupervised training. No names were mentioned. No details were shared. No responsibility was taken. There would be no trial. No public investigation, no questioning of witnesses. The case was marked closed. Behind sealed doors, several non-human cadets were quietly transferred to other stations. Their records were cleaned, their schedules erased. To the galaxy, it was a tragic mistake. To the Academy, it was a problem removed. Classes resumed the next day. Training halls filled with noise again. Instructors gave lectures. Cadets laughed, argued, and prepared for exams. The station looked normal, but humans noticed what others ignored. They noticed that the training chamber had been sealed for too long. They noticed that security logs showed missing time. They noticed that medical report avoided specific terms. Human medics whispered among themselves. Lena's body had chemical burns, not from standard training tools, not from safety equipment. The pattern did not match an accident. It matched violence. One human refused to stay silent. Cadet Elias Ward stood outside the administrative wing, staring at a closed door. He was Lena's older brother. Unlike her, Elias was not quiet. He was tall, strong, a top-ranked combat trainee. But right now, he did not look dangerous. He looked empty. Elias formally requested access to the full case file. The request was denied. He asked for security footage. Denied. He asked to speak with the cadets who had last trained with Lena. Denied again. The council claimed it was for station stability. Elias did not argue. He simply asked one question. "If this was an accident," he said calmly, "why are you hiding the truth?" No one answered. Humans across the station began to speak to each other. Quietly, carefully. They compared notes. One human technician found a gap in the camera logs. Another noticed that a sensor override had been manually triggered. A third discovered that Lena's emergency signal had been blocked. Piece by piece, a picture formed. This was not neglect. This was intentional. The humans submitted a formal inquiry to the Galactic Council. They followed every rule, used every legal channel. Days passed. No response came. The request was ignored. That was the first real mistake. Because humans do not forget their dead. They remember names, faces, moments. And humans do not forgive lies. They endure, they wait, they prepare. The Academy believed the silence meant submission. They believed humans would accept the decision and move on. They were wrong, very wrong. Because while the station returned to routine, something else began to move. Slowly, quietly. And once it started, it could not be stopped.
Humans did not send warships. Not at first. They did not shout. They did not threaten. They did not demand revenge. Instead, they sent evidence. Across the galactic network, encrypted data began to appear. Quietly at first, then everywhere. Medical scans were released, unedited, clear. They showed bruising on Lena Ward's body, chemical burns from non-standard compounds, internal damage caused by multiple attackers. Then came the logs. Security records that had been altered were restored. Timestamps that had been erased reappeared. System overrides were exposed. The truth became impossible to hide. The final footage spread the fastest. Recovered from a backup node the Academy believed was destroyed, the video showed the sealed training chamber. Lena was not alone. She was surrounded. Several non-human cadets blocked the exits. Their movements were calm, planned. Lena tried to step back. The security alarms never activated. The footage ended before the final moments. That was enough. Analysts across the stars reviewed the data. Independent systems confirmed it. This was not an accident. It was an attack. Worse still, deeper files followed. Internal council messages were leaked. They showed Academy officials discussing containment. They spoke of avoiding diplomatic damage. They agreed to label the death an accident. They knew. The galaxy reacted in stages. First came confusion, then shock, then fear. Human embassies began to close their doors. Officially, it was called a temporary review. Trade routes slowed. Human-controlled supply lines paused inspections. Cargo shipments were delayed. No one said it was punishment, but everyone understood. Then came the fleets. Human military formations adjusted their patrol paths. Exercises were announced near key systems. Ships did not aim weapons. They simply arrived. They moved legally, carefully, and very visibly. The message was clear without a single threat. Humans were watching. Finally, one official human broadcast was released. It was short. No shouting, no emotion, just a calm voice speaking for all of humanity. This was not an accident, the message said. This was murder. The broadcast paused. Then came the final line, and humans respond to murder. Across the stars, governments went silent. Councils postponed votes. Academies locked records. Officials reviewed old decisions with new fear. They had seen humans fight wars before. This was different. This was controlled. This was deliberate. This was humanity giving the galaxy a chance to choose what came next. And everyone understood something terrifying. Humans had not yet acted. They had only spoken. The Galactic Council panicked. At first, they tried soft words. They released public apologies filled with regret and carefully chosen phrases. They spoke of shared responsibility and tragic misunderstandings. They promised to do better. When that failed, they offered compensation, credits, grants, memorial funds. They believed humans could be bought. They were wrong. Then came arrests. A few low-ranking cadets were detained. Several minor officials were suspended. Press statements called it swift justice. But it was already too late. Human fleets arrived in Academy space. Not with weapons charged, not with shields raised. They arrived in formation. Large ships, silent ships, too many to ignore. They took legal positions along trade routes and orbital lanes. They followed every treaty. They broke no laws. And then they did nothing. They waited. That frightened the galaxy more than any invasion ever had, because humans only waited when they were deciding how much justice was enough. Alien governments watched the fleet positions change slowly. Military analysts ran simulations that ended in disaster. Academy leaders stopped sleeping. Every hour of silence felt heavier than the last. Under growing pressure, the Council reopened the case. This time, humans were present. Human legal observers entered Council chambers. Human analysts reviewed every record. Human medics re-examined every report. The truth could no longer be buried. The attackers were brought back. One by one, they broke. They confessed to cornering Lena Ward. They admitted to disabling security systems. They confirmed that instructors had been warned and ignored it. Some cried, some begged. None were spared the truth. Officials began to resign. Some disappeared before hearings could begin. Others fled to distant systems. A few were arrested while trying to escape. The Galactic Academy was shut down. Training programs were suspended indefinitely. Recruitment stopped overnight. Its proud name became a symbol of failure.
Across the stars, emergency sessions were called. New laws were written in fear and shame. Pages of regulations were debated, rewritten, and approved. Security standards were raised. Oversight was expanded. But one sentence mattered more than all the rest. It appeared in every version, in every language, on every world. No Deathworlder cadet shall ever be isolated again. The message was clear. Never alone, never unprotected, never silenced. The human fleets did not move. Not yet. They waited until the laws were signed, until the arrests were complete, until the academy doors were sealed. Only then did they begin to withdraw. Slowly, quietly. The galaxy exhaled in relief. But something had changed forever. The stars had learned a lesson they would never forget. Justice was not decided by councils alone, not when humans were watching, and not when one of their own had fallen.
Lena Ward was buried on Earth. Not with a parade, not with speeches, not with banners in the sky. Just quiet ceremony under an open sky. Her grave was marked with a simple stone. No rank was carved into it. No medals were displayed. Only her name. Families stood nearby. Friends stood behind them. And far away, across the stars, millions watched in silence. The Galactic Academy did not attend. They did not need to. Their message had already been delivered. The Galactic Academy never reopened in the same form. Its halls remained empty. Its name was removed from official records. New training institutions were built, but none followed the old rules. Across the galaxy, alien training programs changed. Security systems were redesigned. Isolation policies were erased. Human observers were added to mixed-species academies. Deathworlder cadets were no longer treated as threats to be watched. They were treated as lives to be protected. Among humans, no announcement was made. No law was written. No order was spoken aloud. But a rule spread quietly from world to world. If one of us falls, all of us answer. It was not a threat. It was a promise. The galaxy learned something important that day. Humans did not need to conquer systems to be feared. They did not need to burn worlds to be obeyed. They did not need to shout to be heard. They only needed truth. They only needed time. And when given a reason, humans would move together, calmly, patiently, relentlessly. Years later, Lena Ward's name appeared in history archives, not as a soldier, not as a hero of war, but as the moment the galaxy changed. New cadets learned her story on their first day of training. Instructors spoke her name with caution. Officials remembered what silence had once cost them. Far out in deep space, ships still adjusted their courses when human fleets passed. Not out of fear, out of respect, because the stars remembered. They remembered a quiet human cadet who followed every rule. They remembered a lie that failed. They remembered a response that never fired a shot. And above all, they remembered the lesson written into galactic law and memory. Do not isolate a Deathworlder. Do not hide the truth, and never believe that humans will ignore their dead. Lena Ward rested beneath Earth's sky, but her warning echoed forever among the stars.